It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
All right. It's your boy Dave from the 408 coming to you all the way from my podcast studio in San Jose, Califas for another edition of the Shoe Shine. Orale raza. Let me say what's up to everybody, but most importantly, my co-host all the way from the city of brotherly love, Mr. Philly Irish Drew Evo. Que pasa, homie?
What's up, Dave?
What's up? Hey, man, it's the month of February. It's been really funky. I've been sharing a lot of my personal stuff that's going on lately. Some of you have inquired and reached out to me, and I appreciate that. And I want to send my thank you to everyone who's been reaching out. Yes, I went through a very tough thing last week, and I'm continuing to grieve. But I'm not the only one who's grieving. Everyone has a hard time. So, Drew, I wanted to ask you, it's a funky February to me. I'm all up in my feelings, bro. But listen, to anyone who lives out here in California, for a very long time, my wife and I have been saying that really what was holding us back was taking care of her grandparents who raised her and adopted her. So now that that's behind us, and yes, I have family here in the Bay Area, but it's been my lifelong dream to leave the Bay Area for a fresh start for chapter 2 of my life. Let me ask people, we just witnessed Keith Thurman try to write chapter 2 or whatever, a fresh start, a reincarnation of Keith. One-time Thurman, Drew. I don't know if you were impressed, but should I leave California, guys? Should I bail on California? I don't seem to ever feel like I have enough money. Like, yeah, even though I'm comfortable, man, I feel like you can never get ahead in Silicon Valley. There's just never enough money. Should Dave from the 408 become Dave from somewhere else? And should I go for a fresh start? Let me know at the end of this show. Drop a comment when the show is over, or drop a comment now. All right, Drew, enough yapping. Well, you know what? Speaking of California, let's talk about this, Drew. Have you seen Canelo's golf game? Have you seen Canelo in action? Man, I was watching on Sunday, trying to get a glimpse of Canelo himself in the Pro-Am. Just 80 miles south of me, of course, is the world famous Pebble Beach. And they actually, at my job, I'm actually a contractor, and I get sent there occasionally, and I get so pissed off because it's like a 90-minute drive. But when I get down there, I'm like, yo, why am I pissed off, dude? I'm like literally getting paid to work at one of the finest golf resorts in the world. But here is Canelo Alvarez, the face of boxing. Is he better? Is he better than the Golden State Warriors? Curry? Drew hasn't even watched them golf, man. Let me know what you guys think, man. Does Canelo have a good golf game? Because he is in the Pro-Am here in California. I know I'm bitching and complaining about California, but California is one of the most beautiful places in all of the United States, for sure, man. Nando Lama says, I love the Monterey Aquarium. Of course, it's beautiful, man. There's not enough words I can say about the beauty all around California. But Drew, enough of that, man, because let's be real, man. PBC, $75. Meanwhile, DAZN brought us probably like one of the best fights. It's the best fight of the year so far. There's only been a handful of shit. So as a boxing fan, you and I both got to experience not only a PBC card that was stacked. It was stacked with a lot of talent, up-and-comers, Mexican-American fighters. One that we've had on our show recently, Jesus Ramos Jr., was bumped up amongst them who, we'll get to that in a second, Drew. But let's get to Jesse Bam Rodriguez. We talked about it briefly. We talked about it extensively last week. And what am I calling? We talked to Sonteo Media, who had a lot of information about what was going down in the Robert Garcia camp. And of course, Robert Garcia can lay claim that he is the trainer of the freshest, newest young champion. And I want to know, Drew, what did you think? That they're just saying he moved up 2 weight classes, but he was just fighting recently at 112. But the truth is, man, he dominated Cuadras, and Cuadras is the former super flyweight champion himself, who was going to fight that Thai guy. And the Thai guy came up with COVID. And here comes Jesse Bam Rodriguez and says, I'm ready. Let's do it. He goes for it. Bold and courageous, Drew. What is your take on him stepping up to that challenge and now being the youngest champion in all of the sport of boxing?
Normally when you dare to be great, move up to 2 weight classes, you don't usually do good. It's like people have awful endings, right? I'm getting knocked out. Asamir Khan, he got knocked out by Canelo Alvarez, moving up 2 weight classes. But I don't know, like these small weight classes, when they're like separated by like a couple of pounds, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So, like, Crosby has been in too many wars. He's been knocked out. So Jesse's like, very fresh. He's 22 years old, 15 fights. So he has a bright future now. He beat a guy. He beat a champ. Won a champion, 2 weight classes up. Now it's a decision if he's going to stay up there, or is he going to move back down?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Defend that belt.
That's a great question. That's a great question because his brother, Joshua Franco, is also the WBA super flyweight. And last week, I was asking people like, damn, who's the most recent memory 2 brothers holding the titles in the same weight division? I know you mentioned the Klitschko's, and at one point, the Charlos were fighting both at around the same weight class. But now they both find themselves at super flyweight, a weight that he carried enough power. But what about, DAZN? And DAZN, usually their commentators don't get it right. But I think this time they were saying one comment that really stuck with me is their comparisons to one of your favorite fighters, Vasily Lomachenko, in terms of the movement, his technique, and doing the step around move. When he caught Cuadras with that uppercut, he literally did a step aside move that was very reminiscent of the great work that Vasily Lomachenko does. And they kept pointing that over and over, man. How does he move like that? He's giving you shots at different angles. And, of course, Cuadras didn't see that uppercut coming, and that floored him. That's when I think he really knew he was in a fight. But do you see similarities to the great Vasily Lomachenko?
I see a couple of similarities. He has good footwork.
Yes.
And everything. So, that's something that can take him a long way. But so he's young, so he can the only way is for him to get better.
Mm-hmm. Somebody had sent me this off of Twitter here. In 1998, of course, that's Robert Garcia's father. When he, at 21 years old, Fernando Ferocious Vargas won his first world title. And if you guys weren't paying attention, but maybe you are, if you follow the Fernando Vargas family, his dynasty of sons, Fernando Vargas Jr., was on the PBC card very early. It wasn't the televised one, but he was victorious against a fighter that I really could not find too much information about. I think he was 3-0. But the Fernando Vargas family is going to continue to fight on. Got themselves on the PBC card. So congratulations and a shout out to Fernando Vargas' sons doing their thing. So, Drew, he finds himself at 22, and you bring up this great question. Does he stay at 115 when maybe he's better suited at 112? But I'm going to say, why not? Because we got all these, like Chocolatito was going to fight in March, and that fight was also on the verge of being canceled, but then they had a late replacement stepping up from Mexico as well. We all wanted to see Chocolatito versus Estrada, the rematch again. and now he's being replaced by, I believe, I forget the kid's name, Cesar. And he's going to step up and fight. And now everybody's talking about let him fight the winner of that Chocolatito fight, which I think it's a great, hey, if you want to unify titles, obviously he's not going to fight his brother. But if you want to put him in against all those people being mentioned, Sering Savai, that didn't get a shot. You got Chocolatito, you got Estrada. You have all these fantastic people at super flyweight. He can also go back to 112, like you said. Maybe he does vacate the title, but all these big money fights are going to materialize for him at 115. And also, here's my deal, Drew. He's only 22. And the one small, people don't remember when we had a co-host by the name of Craft Daddy? He was like, Dave, nobody watches the little guys fight. Nobody wants to talk about the little Mexicans fighting. Oh, man. But a lot of boxing purists and pugilists do want to see the little guys fight because they know that's where it's at. Drew, my favorite fighter down below 120 pounds is the monster, Inoue. And he's only 3 pounds heavier than Jesse Rodriguez. And if he's a star, like everyone is professing, a new star is born in the sport of boxing, another Robert Garcia fighter. At 22, he is going to inevitably someday run into the monster. And I can't wait to see. Well, I can wait to see it. There's going to be a lot of time for him to develop. But at some point, we're going to get a real treat. And I think the monster and Jesse Bam Rodriguez are going to be on a collision course. Drew, there was never a Mexican opponent to Godzilla, right? There was always like, you know what I'm saying? But now we have one. And little Jesse Bam Rodriguez, I hope. We'll see, man. We will see. Yeah, JC Martinez. Thank you, Nando Lamas. His name was escaping my thoughts right there. JC Martinez also is stepping up, doing the right thing that we're not seeing a lot of fighters do these days. So I can't complain when someone takes this opportunity to do the right thing and step up and be great and be a new world champion, someone that we're all still talking about this day. If you guys want to call us, 702-710-3627, you can give us a ring. Drew, on that DAZN card, was there anybody else that you caught?
Nah, I really watched that fight, and then I moved on to the PBC card a little bit. I said on the paper, I said on it when you put that tweet on there about Jesus Ramos. I said Jesus Ramos gets a KO in 6, and what happens? He gets a KO in 6.
Wow, yeah, and we're gonna get to that one too. But before we get over to the PBC fight, I do want to say there was some other boxing across the pond, and I actually do enjoy watching Chris Eubanks Jr. fight. We know that he's been under the tutelage of Roy Jones Jr. now. Some people are calling him a phony imposter version of Roy Jones Jr. now. But he fought Liam Williams, who tried his damn hardest against Boo Boo Andrade, right? So this is a guy who's been in there against Boo Boo. And I want to know, most people didn't get to watch Chris Eubanks because I think they were on Sky Sports. But Drew, this is the shit that I'm hearing, and it's boggling my mind. I can't believe this to be true. Chris Eubanks Jr. and Conor Benn is being talked about at a catchweight. Chris Eubanks Jr. has fought as high as 168, and he's campaigning at 160. He should be trying to get a fight with Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. He should be trying to get a fight against someone like Jaime Munguia or Boo Boo Andrade. Number one, it should be the number one guy he should be looking to fight. But he's gladly accepting the conversation of fighting Conor Benn, the son of Nigel Benn, in a fight that would have the two sons duke it out at some mysterious catchweight. Let me know what you guys think about that, because I had to title this Chris Eubanks Jr. versus Conor Benn. What the F? Like, that's a freaking joke, right? But it's not a joke. They're actually going to entertain that. You're shaking your head, bro.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Let them fight. Let them kick each other's asses. I'm not high on either one of them, because Conor Benn, all he calls out is semi-retired guys that are almost out of it. And like Chris Eubanks, he's just trying to imitate Roy Jones, and he's not even a quarter of what Roy Jones was. Because if he was, would have beat Billy Joe Sanders. Like, I'm sorry, Chris Eubanks is not really. He's trying to be Roy Jones, and like Joe Abib said yesterday when I was watching Ringside Reporter, this is the responsibility of the trainer, Roy Jones, to go tell him, yo, I know you trying to do a little bit like me, but you do not imitate me. Be yourself. And like, there's only one Roy Jones. Roy Jones like that would have got Leah Williams out of there. That's Killer Instinct.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're absolutely right about that.
Eubanks, man, he don't have that shit, man. Like, he wants to show off. He wants to try, oh, I'm getting rounds. No. You should have got him out of there.
Man. And also Clarissa Shields fought in what looked like a really kind of sloppy performance, fought on that same card.
That put me to sleep.
So anyhow, Eddie Hearn is reportedly trying to woo Terrence Bud Crawford. Of course, in my opinion, one of arguably the best welterweight in the world, who's just left Top Rank. And even he knows, Eddie Hearn says that he only has a couple or less than a handful of fighters that he think he can put against Terrence Bud Crawford, one of them being Conor Benn, who holds no title. The other one is Virgil Ortiz. David Avanesian. He even knows it's a long shot for him to secure Terrence Bud Crawford over at his promotional company. He knows it's a long shot. So why am I talking about that, Terrence Bud Crawford? Because Keith One-Time Thurman is back. Did I just call him Thurman? Keith One-Time Thurman is back. All right. He took on Mario Barrios, who just recently got knocked out. And for weeks leading up to this, I know that a lot of people were like, man, this fight is some bullshit right here. We're not going to pay $75 to watch Mario Barrios, who just got knocked out by little Tank Davis at 140 pounds. But for some strange reason, as we were moving towards Friday, and I said Thurman was going to win. But coming close to Friday, I kept watching the odds and all my casual friends calling me, asking me, Dave, how should I vote? How should I vote? I started getting this sick feeling that Barrios had a chance because he can box. He can box. Somewhat, he can box. He was boxing, the little guy, Gervonta Tank Davis, just fine up until all the power shots started landing. I started to feel a little bit bad for Mario Barrios and thought, there's a chance he can pull off 5 or 6 rounds. There really is a solid chance of that. But what was I smoking? What was I smoking? I mean, I was going off the fact that recently Gary Russell Jr. had a horrible performance and fought with an injury. And looked the shadow of his greatness with that injury. And I thought, you know what? Thurman's had the same type of shoulder surgery. It's been a very long 2.5 years. And this is Mario Barrios' opportunity to jump on that inactivity. And I thought Keith Thurman was going to be rusty AF. I even told my friend, maybe put some money on him, as I saw the odds weren't so bad. I said, maybe put some money on Barrios. I would regret that, as my friend did, and he lost money. And there goes my validity, like, shit. Shout out to Off the Ropes Boxing and MMA. What's up, homie? He was on that show with me last Tuesday with Chicano Prophet. A shout out to Chicano Prophet of Al Chile. We did that. We turned back the time and looked at the great fight between Cesar Chavez and Oscar De La Hoya. Drew, that was a very good example of one of the best Chicano, Mexican-American versus Mexican fights. And this past Saturday was a recent example of a great fight. Cuadras being from Sinaloa and Bam Rodriguez being from San Antonio, Texas, a Chicano fighting a great Mexican former champion and coming up victorious. Very similar in that. Anyways, if you haven't heard, Keith Thurman wants no part of Terrence Bud Crawford. We were just talking about that. Why is that, Drew?
Terrence Crawford beat the shit out of him.
He's not interested in a fight, and that's a solid name for Terrence Bud Crawford to fight the former champion Keith Thurman. But Keith Thurman's not interested. He seemed to be ducking that possibility of a fight.
Yeah, he's ducking. He's ducking. He's ducking him. He's ducking Boots Ennis. He's ducking Virgil Ortiz.
Oh,
like, come on, like Keith Thurman. Let me just say this right now. This was a fucking born fight. Mario Barrios can't do shit. Seriously. Mario Barrios, I don't know how the fuck did this dude get in the top 10 and 140. Like, he's barely got in the top 10 and 140. And and tell you the truth, after 5, the rest of the division, the rest of the top 10, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He escaped with a narrow victory in the Spence versus Porter pay-per-view. That's the first time he was, brought to the masses on a huge pay-per-view and had this paper title bestowed upon him. A paper title, a secondary title that just made it easy for Gervonta Tank Davis to say, I could snatch that. And snatch that he did. This insignificant title. I don't think Mario Barrios was ever truly a contender at the 140-pound division. A nice, great kid, Aztec Warrior, great ring walk entrances. Seems like a really likable guy, an athlete. But as far as him stacking up against top ranks, 140-pound champions, the list goes on of people I don't think he would stand or fare well against Chon Zepeda, against the former great Ramirez, who was a unified champion. It goes on and on over there at Top Rank. I don't even think he could get past Baranchek.
I thought this WBA got rid of secondary titles. What the?
Yeah, I thought so too, right?
What's up with that?
Nando,
yeah, so much for that
Nando
bullshit.
says cosplay Barrios embarrassing with the Aztec Warrior outfits.
And here's another thing with Thurman. Let's not let Thurman off the hook. Thurman didn't even fucking go to knock this kid out.
You bring up a good point there. I want to give him some credit because he didn't have the ring
credit,
rust.
Man.
He get no credit from Drew today. He didn't have the ring rust I was expecting. Actually, shit. His punches were really crisp, accurate, hard hitting. But you're right. This allure back in the day when Keith Thurman came up as the welterweight champ, that he had this fantastic knockout streak. It's stopped dead in its tracks. He was asked about this in the post-fight press conferences, and he really didn't have an answer other than talking about himself in the third person, which is usual Keith Thurman way of doing things, talking about himself in the third person. No, he couldn't knock out Barrios, and that's a major stain on this win. Right, guys? I mean, let me know, guys. The fact that Gervonta Tank Davis, a naturally much, much smaller lightweight fighter, was able to knock out Mario Barrios and stop him, and Keith Thurman couldn't. Was it ring rust? Is it just that Keith Thurman doesn't have power anymore? Is he worried about blowing out his hands? What do you think, Drew?
I know, and here's the other thing, man. He took a body shot. He has terrible defense to the body, Keith Thurman still. And once he took a shot to the body, he spits his mouthpiece out and holds it for like freaking 1 minute and everything. And running around the freaking ring. I understand that you took a body shot, you trying to get a breather, but dude, what if he hits you in your fucking jaw? You break your jaw and everything. A stupid fucking move right there by Keith Thurman, man.
Not the first time, right? Not the first time we've seen him do that.
Yeah, it's not the first time he done it. He has terrible defense to the body. And tell you the truth, he can't take a body shot to save his fucking life. Seriously, he still can't take a fucking body shot. Keith Thurman, I'll be honest, he moved around a guy. He boxed that way around a guy, in my mind, that he's overweight. Barrios is overrated. I don't care what anybody says. You can say he can box. I don't think he can box one bit. I had him winning in the Gervonta Davis fight by a round before he got knocked out and everything. That's because without power, Gervonta Davis ain't shit, in my opinion. A lot of people's opinion too, but at the end of the day, man, Mario Barrios ain't shit. Mario Barrios barely hit the top 10 in a five-fighter 140-pound division. So, I won't be surprised if within 2 years he's a fucking journeyman.
Or he's headed there right now. I want to say what's up to Let's Go Champ, a person in the chat I see here. He says Barrios was just weight trained at 140 pounds. That's why Tank was able to knock Barrios out. So that was kind of one of the reasons why leading up to Friday night when I started really thinking about Barrios as having a chance at coming close on the scorecards. I even alluded that to my friend because I was listening to an interview with Omar Juarez from Texas. Omar Juarez is a sparring partner, someone who was featured on the free PBC card. I think he's a 140-pound fighter to watch. He fought Carl, the Texan, in a very close, heated fight. I want to say Omar Juarez, El Relampago, is a future star in the division, but the fact that he couldn't get out Carl without being in a really brutal fight, I'm kind of doubtful now, even though I like Omar Juarez a lot. Omar Juarez had this to say about his sparring partner, someone he knows very closely, Mario Barrios. He said, look, everything that you've seen with Mario Barrios that was a problem was strictly weight related. He's a different animal at welterweight. He punches much harder. And you know what? I saw that interview and I bought into that bullshit. I bought into it that Mario Barrios was going to magically be, no longer weight trained, and he was going to find this power. Man, he doesn't have power at 140, and he doesn't really have power at welterweight, even less so. And there's a lot of guys at PBC that have come up, including Josecito Lopez, who was a naturally 140-pound fighter. As soon as they move up in weight, they have even less power. But arguably, Josecito Lopez is going to have a much better career as we look back upon it. I thought Keith Thurman had a hell of a time against Josecito. By the way, Josecito Lopez, we talked about it. He was supposed to be on that card. Jesus Ramos was supposed to be televised on free TV. Jesus that we interviewed, he got bumped up into the pay-per-view because Josecito Lopez was hurt. And Abel Ramos, his uncle, surprisingly, they're only 8 years apart. They thought they had it in the bag, Drew. I know you told me about this, and I had to go back and rewatch that whole fight versus Santa Maria, a guy named Santa Maria from East LA who had a good victory over former champion Devin Alexander. They let that fight slip away. Abel Ramos came out hot. He was dominating the early half of the fight, and I don't know what happened, but he let Santa Maria get back in the fight big time. And when you let the fight escape you, I don't know what they were thinking. They were probably scoring it in their head differently. And actually, Abel's trainer is Jesus Ramos' father, Jesus Ramos Sr. So as I was watching the beginning of the pay-per-view special, me and my wife were watching Jesus Ramos. He had a really rough start against this guy, Vladimir Hernandez, who fights out of Stockton, California from Huella Durango. He had a really rough start. And I had to think, you watch your family member lose earlier on the card, that it had to be weighing on him in the green room. He seemed out of focus, and I was a little bit concerned because Vladimir Hernandez has a huge win over Julian Williams from Philadelphia. Huge upset win. He's been in there with a handful of other big names. Perro Angulo, big win over him, even though that's not saying much. But anyways, you were right. I want to send you congratulations. You said he was going to knock out the guy in 6 rounds. And that is a big deal because that guy has a good win over Philadelphia's J-Rock, the former world champion at 154. So, shout out to him. But I'm curious, Nando, Leo Santos news. Yeah, I'm curious. Nando, I see Nando say this. If you want to call or put it in the chat, cultivating Mexican jabronis, that's all. I don't think they're all jabronis. I mean, there's some really good talent at PBC, and I think that the boxers have no choice. Like, they have little choice. Like, when you want to get signed, you're going to entertain. You may only get one offer, and if it's coming from PBC, how could you not take that offer? I
don't know. I can't watch Leo Santa Cruz fight, man. His fights are boring as hell. It's the same shit.
Now we're talking about Leo Santa Cruz. Yo, I had to watch that one with the volume down. I was more concerned with what was going on the zone card.
Yeah, like, I'll tell you the truth. I don't like watching Leo Santa Cruz fight. I just don't. Like, I always thought that he was protected most of his career and everything. Like, his fights were boring because it's just, I'm going to stay in the middle of the ring and I'm just like, bam, 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 the whole freaking time, dude. Like, the same bam, 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 the whole 12 rounds and go to a decision. Like, I'm just not a fan of Leo Santa Cruz. And, like, really, when it comes to somebody talking about, oh, he's rate drained and everything, I don't believe in that bullshit. Tell you the truth. Like, seriously, you want to tell me he's rate drained? You move up 7 more pounds, guy still can't do shit. So, end of the day, I don't give a fuck about the weight drain shit. Maybe he should have fucking moved down to 140 in the first place.
Chicano Prophet agrees with you. I agree with Drew. Leo is limited, boring, doesn't move his legs, no KO power. So he's moved down after that devastating knockout loss to Gervonta Tank Davis. A great payday for him. He's moving down back to featherweight. And all he could talk about was the recent Filipino champion who beat Gary Russell Jr. and how bad he wants to fight that guy. Drew, Leo Santa Cruz, he's from Michoacan, like my family was from Michoacan. I would love to see him fight the only featherweight champion that I think is a legitimate, true featherweight champion right now, and that's Navarrete over at Top Rank. No mention of wanting to fight Navarrete, but the easy mark, what appears to be an easy mark in Max Seong, the Filipino who just upset Gary Russell Jr., I don't know. He's going to get that fight. He's going to have to get that fight because he's going to have to defend the title, the Filipino, and they're both at Showtime. They're both at PBC. Does Leo Santa Cruz come up with an easy victory in the future? I don't know.
You know what, man? You know what? Of course he's not going to mention Navarrete. He don't want that smoke. They never want that smoke with the top guys. Like, seriously. You should have fought Gary Russell Jr. I think it would have been a better fight instead of fighting the Filipino guy to beat Gary Russell Jr. Like, Leo Santa Cruz, man, I don't pay attention to that dude, man. They want to call out guys. They don't want to call out the best, the division, and everything. Navarrete would destroy Leo Santa Cruz.
Drew, I always crack up. I don't know what people on Twitter got way too much time, but I didn't know that the height difference was this substantial. It sure didn't look like it on the night of the fight at this press conference. To me, Keith Thurman's hairline didn't look as bad as Twitter was making it out to seem, but this height difference, man, it didn't look that bad either in real life.
You want to know what Keith Thurman looks like? He looks like freaking Sinestro.
He looks what?
He looks like Sinestro. Anybody knows about DC Comics, Sinestro is the Green Lantern villain. Look at a picture of him, look at his fucking head, and you'll see he looks like just like fucking Sinestro. Yeah, I'm a comic book freak, so what the hell?
All right, Drew, speaking of PBC fighters and Showtime fighters and whatnot, former lightweight champion, 135-pound fighter. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard, but I saw the pictures on his recovery. Robert Easter Jr., just like 6 months back, I want to like the guy. I mean, him and Adrian Broner used to entertain the shit out of me with their antics on social media. He was a great lightweight champion until he ran into Robert Garcia's brother and lost his lightweight title. But, about 6 months back, if you guys didn't know, he assaulted a woman at a strip club. So he had criminal charges on that, a dispute over money or a dispute over something. Battery was the charge given upon him. I don't know what he did, if he slapped her, if he punched her.
That dance wasn't worth it.
But this weekend, he was approached by multiple guys who demanded his jewelry, wallet, cell phone. He tried to get away and he was shot 3 times. So as much as I was hoping to see Robert Easter turn his life around and come back to the ring and fight, he's recovering from 3 gunshots, which is no small task. But I guess he has angels, man. So God bless Robert Easter Jr. for pulling out of this. It seems to be he's going to pull out of this 100%, despite being shot 3 times and nearly losing his life. We know that he is... Ohio guy, Cincinnati guy, and I'm sure that he would much rather be at home with all his family watching Cincinnati Bengals this weekend, but he will be recovering for the time being from these 3 gunshot wounds. So, oh man, I send a prayer out for Robert Easter Jr. That's nothing to scoff or laugh about, man. It's crazy out there, Drew. I mean, I know you live out in Philadelphia, and you know that Philadelphia, just like West Coast cities, are like going through crime waves right now all across the country. Crime is high as fuck. You can get shot for anything worth the value, and of course AB and Robert Easter are always were flexing, gold, whatever it was, man. So anyways, prayers out to Robert Easter Jr. On that news right there. Anything else, Drew, that is on your mind regarding that PBC card? I know I talked about, we had both the Ramos. We covered that. I wasn't too impressed with Leo Santa Cruz or the Nieti fight. Overall, I feel bad if you paid for it, if you paid $75 from it. That's the way it's been, man. PBC's been on a roll with these pay-per-views, starting the year off with a heavyweight pay-per-view.
I'm sorry, you're a fucking idiot if you pay $79 for that bullshit.
But you know what? Let's move on to the next thing, because Drew, you told me something about, I know you're really active on social media and Twitter, and you told me, of course, and on
Facebook.
Tyson Fury, everybody knows you like watching Tyson Fury and whatnot. He is the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. But you were telling me, why do British fans hate Tyson Fury? And I didn't really know about that. And you got into it with some people. Did you get into a fight with some people from across the pond over here? Read me this shit right here. Let's see. Let me try to read this. Okay, first let me read this. Andrew Quinn. Okay, there's two Andrews here. Andrew McGuire, Drew McGuire, that's you. And you're arguing with this guy named Andrew Quinn. Andrew Quinn says, trying his best to avoid White and begging AJ for step aside. I liked Fury up until this point, to which you responded, so he could fight Usyk? Bro, that's more difficult fight because Usyk easily beats White. Best White. All right. And then you said, begging for a smaller guy when he has a real heavyweight as mandatory. Fury can bully Usyk in the ring. He can't with White. Oh, that was Andrew Quinn. My bad. Explain to me what is going on here, Drew.
Well, I put a post on Facebook in this boxing group that I joined, and I was like, I want to ask the UK fans, give me a reason why you guys hate Tyson Fury so much. And then I had all these people giving me reasons. And I got to say, especially this motherfucker right here. This motherfucker right here must want to be in the Guinness Book of World Records as the dumbest motherfucker alive. Because seriously, this comment that after I said, so he can get a more difficult fight with Usyk. He's talking about bullying Usyk, a smaller guy, so because he can't bully White. What the fuck point is that? That is one of the stupidest fucking points I ever seen in my life. That's a fucking stupid rebuttal. Like, seriously, you're talking about bullying now? Talking about because he's a smaller heavyweight? Dillian White's a smaller fucking heavyweight. Dillian White's 6'4". Usyk's 6'3". Like, seriously. Are you telling me? Okay, here's the thing. What's the weight at heavyweight? What is the weight at heavyweight? Somebody fucking tell me. What's the weight at heavyweight?
Drop that in the chat. You want me to say it? I'm listening to your rant.
Say it too. You can say it too if you want, Dave. Anybody can say it. Over 200 pounds, right?
That's the cruiserweight limit.
So here's the thing. Andy Ruiz is 6'2". It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not nobody's fault in chat. It's not Tyson Fury's fault. It's not Deontay Wilder's fault that motherfucker almost weighs 200 pounds. Now, Butterbean, he's like 5'11". Motherfucker weighs 400 pounds. Is it my fault that he weighs 400 pounds? No. Is it your fault? No. So these guys are heavyweights. It doesn't matter how tall a motherfucker is. This dude right here, these are I'm in a group with a bunch of AJ and Dillian White fanboys. This is all your fans. And I don't understand why you hate on Tyson Fury so much. He's a champion. He's from the UK. But I know the main reason why. And I'm going to say the main reason why.
Please.
Because Tyson Fury's done something that AJ fell miserably at, and Dillian White would never do in his career because he doesn't feel protected. And that has become a superstar in the United States.
Are you saying the crossover appeal is why they are hating on the Gypsy King himself? So it's not racial, it's because there can be racism, right? Can there be racism? Like, okay, he's an Irish traveler of Gypsy descent. I mean, it's not the racism. It's the fact that he is a crossover star. I was beginning to think if like his appearance, the fact that maybe they think that he's, doesn't fit the mold of a UK, bodybuilding champion like AJ. Fat shaming.
Here's my point. I got more points because I tell you the truth, I shut most of these UK fans up because they're putting up stupid points. They say, "Oh, I don't like the way he talks shit to everybody." But here's the thing. Dillian Wright talks shit. So it's okay for Dillian Wright to talk shit. And it's not okay for Tyson Fury to talk shit. That's confidence.
Why? Is it because he's no longer a gentleman? If he talks all that shit? He's very good at talking shit.
I don't know. And then these guys go along and they're talking about PED. I was like, okay, well, here's the next thing, man. Like, didn't Dillian Wright get caught with PED use?
Oh, yeah, he did too.
Like, seriously. Like, I just took another theory out. This is like fucking worse, almost as worse, maybe worse than the LDBC with fucking Wilder at the time with Glovegate. And everything, if you want to look at it, like, seriously, they don't. And then they say, oh, Tyson Fury can't have a tune-up. And, like, AJ wanted a tune-up when he went to the United States to fight Big Baby Jarrell Miller, And then, he got knocked out by Aiden Ruiz. But here the thing about it is that I do not like. I really think UK fans, really the boxing scene over there, man, is when you're a guy that has success in America, that can go anywhere in the world and be a star and everything. I think UK fans are jealous because somebody like Anthony Joshua can't have that same because he fell miserably, and then Dillian Wright doesn't even want to try it and everything.
So
okay,
are you saying that Tyson Fury should permanently move to the United States, make it his permanent? No, you're not saying that.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that is the UK fans need to stop being fanboys, be fans of boxing, and really know what the fuck they're talking about.
Wow. I'm glad nobody's listening to us from the UK right now. I think we had one guy, Hamed.
The stupid motherfuckers. No, I like Hamed. I like a lot of his points and everything. He really will see where I'm coming from about this. But guys like this, dude, I'm going to say, this dumb ass that gave me this stupid ass argument, I really said to him afterwards, you know what? I'm going to post this on my show to let people know how fucking stupid you are.
Damn.
And I don't give a. And then you got people like, oh, I'm going to post this on my show too. How many followers you got? Is that the only fucking rebuttal you got? How many followers you got? That just means you don't know shit about boxing, bro, if you're going to fucking bring that up.
So it's really interesting, Drew. Not to cut you off, but Gary here says, and I just casually brought this up, but I didn't really believe it myself. But Tyson's a gypsy. I lived in Ireland. Gypsies are second-class people in the eyes of most people. That's why the British don't like him. Tyson loves America and the American people, and that probably, I guess he's saying, could all contribute to this hate for Tyson Fury. Somebody explain to me why Paulie Malignaggi, who talks a lot of shit, is so popular in the UK. Why he can't get canceled in the UK. Somebody explain that to me. There's no canceling Paulie. By the way, I like Paulie. But he's very big. He's a lot bigger in the UK than he is here. Sorry, Drew. Sorry to cut you off. But that's one guy he goes over there and he has more success in the UK. Like you said, Tyson Fury comes over here. He's got crossover appeal. Big time. I mean, people love him in Vegas.
Like, these guys should fucking love him. He's the champion. And then they're talking about lineal heavyweight champion. Oh, he's not lineal heavyweight champion. That's still Lennox Lewis. I was like, are you fucking serious? I'm like, you guys didn't even accept Lennox fucking Lewis. You guys rooted for Frank Bruno more than Lennox fucking Lewis. Come on now.
You're bringing up the UK, Drew. There's a big fight. I'm
being honest. I'm being honest because this is fanboy bullshit, and these guys need to fucking rise the fuck up and realize Anthony Joshua got completely exposed by Usyk. He could have stopped him anytime he wanted. He gave him a boxing lesson. He's gonna knock him out in the next fight. AJ career's probably gonna be over after this shit. And then Dillian Wright's gonna get his fucking ass kicked. You wanna know who Dillian Wright is? You wanna know who Dillian Wright is?
Please tell me.
A younger Darius Chisora. But you wanna know what the difference is? Darius Chisora has balls. Dillian Wright doesn't. You wanna know why? Because when he was supposed to fight Otto Allen, he's mysteriously got an injury, and they didn't want to make up that fight because he was scared Otto Allen would have whooped his ass.
Hey, Otto Allen gave Tyson Fury probably the best fight I've seen a fighter of recent memory give. He gave Tyson Fury everything he could handle. What is your thoughts? You're talking about the UK fans, but listen, there's like this a fight that was over marinated way beyond its expiration date, and that's Amir Khan, who's he's a British citizen, fought for the UK in the Olympics, but Amir Khan, there's a lot of racism in the UK as against Middle Easterns, and yet he's celebrated as one of their own. So I'm trying to like reconcile where is this selective racism, if there is any. There's Amir Khan, and then you got Kell Brook. All right, it's supposed to be the great fight for the UK, and it's coming up very, very soon. Aside from all the stuff you're talking about, man, are the UK fans in for some disappointment between these two aged warriors?
I don't know, probably. End of the day, Irish pride, everybody. Irish took over the UK, and it will continue taking over the UK and everything. And they need to realize that the best fighter is Irish. That's Tyson Fury.
An Irish traveler.
But I'm going to say something right now. I actually have Kell Brook winning this fight.
Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
The weak chin Amir Khan. Because if Virgil Hunter could not improve Amir Khan's defense, McIntyre, I don't believe can do it either.
Virgil Hunter. And by the way, Virgil Hunter was in the corner of Mario Barrios. Very interesting that Mario Barrios went with Virgil Hunter. Arguably, Virgil Hunter, even though he's had some big names underneath him, his only star was the Bay Area, Oakland's, Andre Ward. Really, breakout star. Everyone else seems to fall into his hands in the downturn of their career. So, I don't know. Maybe Mario Barrios will want to examine that relationship. All right, Drew, that's very interesting. Let me know what you guys think about that, about the Kell Brook versus Amir Khan, but really on what Drew was saying. What's going to happen with that fight, Drew? Has it been agreed upon, the split 80-20? I know that he had a lot of reservations about accepting the 20% split, and there's I haven't heard if it's confirmed, if they've signed it, all the dots.
I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if Dillian Wright pulls out.
I saw some chatter on that.
Yeah, and if he pulls out, fuck him.
That don't make no goddamn sense. We started the show off talking about Bam Rodriguez, talking about the guy's underweight. He's getting the opportunity of a lifetime to fight for a vacant title. Dillian Wright has been waiting for how many years as the mandatory challenger? This guy's patiently been waiting.
And he thinks he deserves 45%. But how the hell you think you deserve 45%? In your last two fights, you were knocked out cold by a 40-year-old Alexander Povetkin in the UK in 5 rounds, and then you beat up, and then you knock out a COVID. A guy that just got off COVID in Alexander Povetkin. Seriously, I don't get how normally you move back down the rankings once you got knocked out cold like that. You should have moved back down the rankings. Doesn't matter if you waited 3 years to get a fight, to get a heavyweight title shot. Because here's the thing. Normally, you fight for the interim title again, you win it, you normally have to defend that belt one time, and an eliminator to become the mandatory challenger. Because you took him to court, you got your shot, and you said, I don't deserve 8, I deserve 45%. Like, who in the right mind would give you 45% of a purse when you was knocked out recently in a fight? And you only fought twice in a year span. Like, seriously, you I don't know, Dillian White, man, I have a feeling he's going to pull out. Dillian, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this fight happens because Dillian White pulls out.
There's a fighter that I can't even pronounce his name, man. Herzig? Is it Herzig? Help me out, guys. Anyway, Herzig.
Rogative?
Is that his name?
Yeah, they just got a guy that signed down to fight him.
Is it Zhilei Zhang? The Chinese,
Zhilei Zhang.
The Chinese Olympic star.
Rogative would knock him out in 2 rounds.
Who do you think is going to win that?
Rogative would knock out Zhang in 2 rounds.
I only bring him up because we're concerned about heavyweight rankings because, of course, people want to get their opportunity. But for some reason, this guy, everyone's been avoiding him. And Zhilei Zhang, a former Olympian's like, I'll take that fight. The only great Chinese prospect at winning a world title at heavyweight. He's like, I will take that fight. So salute to that guy because apparently nobody else wants to fight him. I don't see what everybody's afraid of. You help me out, but we're going to be apparently getting this fight between Zhilei Zhang and the guy, I can't pronounce his name. 2 fighters, 6'6", 6'7".
I'll watch it, but I think it's only going to last 2. I think Horgatiev's going to knock him out in 2 rounds. I saw this dude fight, man. Zhang, and I really think he's not good. I think Zhang will get caught.
Very interesting. Very interesting. But that's the heavyweight landscape, Drew. I don't know. By the way, AJ's still shopping around apparently for a trainer to fix all his problems, like you said. And he's not like shopping for a trainer in the UK or in the European market. He's here. He was doing the grand interview tour, trying to figure out who's going to help him get past all that. We will see. All right, so the month of February does have some exciting matchups next week on DAZN. All right, it looks like someone who was once very popular, Danny Jacobs, is returning at 168 pounds. He's moved up in weight. He hasn't fought, apparently, since his big win, controversial win over your guy from Philadelphia, right?
Gifted decision.
Gifted decision. He hasn't fought since then, but he thinks he's going to be a real player at 168 pounds. Danny Jacobs at 168 pounds. We know that Canelo is the unified champion, undisputed champion at 168. But John Ryder, a European UK fighter, is it going to be a good fight?
Man, I'm not really sold. I think Daniel Jacobs' best days behind him. Like, I really don't think Daniel Jacobs is ever going to be a champion again. So it probably will be a good fight for as long as it goes. But it's in the UK, right? Yeah,
it looks like it. Yeah, of course, he's signed with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Promotions. And he's trying to revitalize, like we talked about earlier, Keith Thurman's trying to write a new chapter in his life story with a comeback, a fresh start, 2.5-year layoff. Danny Jacobs had one of those moments in his life. He beat cancer. Always have to root for a guy who has an incredible backstory like Danny Jacobs. But I hate to agree with you on this one, man. I really think that his best days are behind him, whether it's at 160 or 168 pounds. I think he's just going to be a fringe contender. And John Ryder, a big UK name, I think he stands a damn good chance. I think this fight will actually be pretty entertaining, and it's like all we have to look forward to this Saturday. Nando Lama says, Danny Jacobs is just like Mikey Garcia, passionless, only doing it for the paycheck. Oh, man.
You want to start his downward spiral? I'm going to be honest with you.
Which fight was it?
Demetrius Prague, when he knocked him out.
You think it started there? There's a lot of people. A lot of people don't remember that fight, man. That fight was kind of obscure, and it was his first career loss. And Dmitry Pirog, what's interesting about the story about Dmitry Pirog is that his life spiraled as well. And he had like some kind of horrific spinal injury that turned his life upside down, never to fight ever again. In fact, he was on the mind and was in the conversation of landing a career highlight fight against Sergio Maravilla Martinez that we talked about last week. He was going to fight him.
He was going to fight Triple G. I think he would have beaten Triple G.
At the height of his career, P-Rog was someone that everybody, all the top people, like including Martinez, said, wow, if I get in the ring with that guy, that'll be something else, because he thought highly of P-Rog. His life spiraled, and he was never able to fight again. But Danny Jacobs continued to go on and got some huge fights in his career.
Like, P-Rog, I had him really high up in pound for pound at that time. And like, I really see that if P-Rog was still fighting and everything at that time, I think if he would have fought Triple G, he would have beat Triple G. And I really thought, he could have eventually got a fight with Canelo, Pavlik, other big names. There was a lot of big fights for P-Rog out there. And there were some people that were ducking P-Rog because how good he was. Very unorthodox style, but it was an unorthodox style that was really effective because he was a terrific boxer. But I really thought that when he knocked out Danny Jacobs, that was the start of his highlight reel career to be one of the probably pound for pound best fighters in boxing. But he had to retire due to a spinal cord injury. Then he became he became something in the Russian boxing organization, and to get into politics in Russia. But I don't know. There's a lot of things that I would credit Daniel Jacobs' downfall to, even though I kind of thought he beat Triple G in that fight. But I really thought the Chavez fight, when I clearly saw Chavez was beating Daniel Jacobs before he just mysteriously quit on the stool and everything, I just really thought, Daniel Jacobs, and then the fight with Gabe Rosado, I was like, Daniel Jacobs he ain't going to make noise anymore. He's just going to be a plain contender at best, like you said.
You bring up that fight, Chavez Jr., that happened in Phoenix, Arizona, where DAZN just put on a pretty damn good event with Bam Rodriguez winning his title. For a moment after that fight where Chavez Jr., they thought Phoenix was not going to be a town for boxing, but it's returning to its, they've had former world champions out of Phoenix. But that was kind of a rough spot in Phoenix boxing history because they threw everything they could find at Chavez Jr. for quitting on the stool. There wasn't a bottle in any Mexican guy's hands. The bottles were laid out by the ring. If they could throw it at Chavez, they were.
I want to reply to a comment. Little Penny, Andre's moving up to possibly fight David Benavidez. So
is that makeable? Is that a makeable fight? Because
tell you the truth, they're trying to make it, and I'm telling you this right now. I don't call it ducking Janibek to move up to fight Benavidez. He's fighting if he's gonna fight Benavidez, isn't Benavidez the boogeyman at 168?
Yeah, I mean, we could say that, but he's no longer interested in defending his title. I saw that guy Janibek fight. He's a solid European, Eastern European fighter. He is dangerous. He's got power. I think the problem that Bubu Andrade has is one financially, is that he's not getting the big career paydays, and time is ticking on him. He wants those career paydays. He can't get Canelo. He's tried aimlessly at every opportunity to get Canelo's attention, to consider him for the sweepstakes and the lottery, to no avail. Are there bigger fights for him at 168? If Canelo holds all the cards, is he chasing Canelo?
I'll be honest with you, man. If Andre gets this Benavidez fight and beats Benavidez, I don't want to hear anybody else talking shit about Andre, because Canelo ain't fighting Benavidez. Charlo ain't fighting Benavidez.
Man, I just find that fight so hard to be made. DAZN working with Al Heyman. To be honest, Andre's big mistake was signing with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn has done nothing for him. He would have been better served going over to PBC and being a contender over there at 160 or 168 pounds. I don't see where that's going if that fight will materialize. I do feel sorry for the character that Bubu Andrade is, man. doesn't seem to get the fights that he deserves for one reason or another. So that remains to be seen. But I'm excited to see him back in the ring. Whoever it is he's fighting, hopefully it's someone decent. I would like to see Jaime Munguia step up and fight him. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Jaime Munguia will be fighting in Tijuana on DAZN any day now. That's coming up in the works too. Chicano Prophet says Chavez threw that fight. All right, man.
Chavez threw a lot of shit.
He threw a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Well, now he's trying to go for that Jake Paul payday.
It's a fucking disgrace.
You know, it's crazy with Chavez Jr. because my own mom, who's a fan of the Shoe Shine, she watches the replays. Shout out to Mama Shoe Shine.
Damn, you should have told me that when it costs so much.
She's telling me that Chavez Jr.'s dad. Get this shit. I got to hear this from my mom, who gets all the Mexican gossip. Chavez Jr.'s dad, the great Cesar Chavez Jr., had him arrested in the state of Sinaloa, hopefully to get his son into rehab. Drew, that's how bad it is. He's connected supposedly with some, federales or local police, and he had his son arrested in hopes that he can get his son to clean up his act and get into rehab. Now that's my source is Mama Shoeshine. I don't know where she got that, but apparently it happened recently. Nando Lama says Primer Impacto. Yeah, exactly. I guess she got it straight from Primer Impacto. That's the source, Mama Shoeshine. But he's always good for some gossip, Drew. So I just want to say this, man. Thank you to Bam Rodriguez for stepping up and doing the right thing and chasing greatness, because there's been way too many fighters in 2021 that have been inactive, completely inactive, that are more content being social media stars. I know that Jesus Ramos Jr. that we interviewed this weekend said that he's concerned about his own legacy, and he's only 20 years old. He could be a future 154-pound champion someday. He's going to shoot for it. He talks about these great fights that people like Oscar De La Hoya had in succession. Meanwhile, you have Oscar De La Hoya's golden goose, Ryan Garcia, somehow thinking he deserves a payday, not only just a payday, but a title shot against Kambosos, strictly because of his Instagram following. Oh, man.
You know what? When it comes to like Devin Haney, he priced himself out. And then when I saw a post today, a pause post about Devin Haney replying to this YouTuber, which I never fucking heard of, and everything. Not going to mention his name because he doesn't deserve to be mentioned on this show and everything. That they're robbing Devin Haney of him trying to make his legacy. It's like robbing Floyd of trying to make legacy against Diego. I'm sorry, this dude speaks some stupid shit, and I don't pay attention to him, and that's why I never heard the motherfucker. And I replied to Nepal, who the fuck is this guy? But at the end, Lomachenko said, we sent you an offer to Kambosos. Let's see if it is, man. I don't want to hear back and forth. Kambosos got a couple guys that want to fight you. You're the A side. Make an offer. You want to keep. Don't join the social media bullshit like these young boys did for over a year and a half, not fighting each other. Be a real champion and say, hey, I'll fight you, Lomachenko, and I'll fight you, Devin Haney, and make a goddamn choice. You're the main guy in the division. It's you and the email champion, Devin Haney.
Man, that is a hot topic. We could have led the show with that. Let's get back together next Monday on the Shoe Shine, Drew Evo, all the way from Philadelphia, and let's discuss that. Who is in the Kambosos sweepstakes, because it is heating up, and it was a big conversation topic in the world of boxing on social media. Of course, you've got offers being entertained or being thrown by Bob Arum with Lomachenko. Yeah, I'm hearing some real I neglected to play this, Drew, but apparently Robert Garcia, who's young fighter, Bam Rodriguez, we led the show with that story. Lou DiBella, if you go on social media and look for the Robert Garcia clip, apparently Lou DiBella called Robert Garcia thinking Robert Garcia was Robert Diaz, the matchmaker for Golden Boy. And he went into conversation with Robert Garcia about his game plan for having Kambosos fight, Ryan Garcia, and what the game plan is. And Ryan Garcia somehow has secured a fight with a Lou DiBella fighter. That has been cemented. And Robert Garcia apparently just went along with the conversation to hear all the juicy gossip. It wasn't until
happens, man.
It wasn't until Lou DiBella called him days later and said Robert Diaz, and Robert Garcia said, "Yo, do you know who you're talking to? It's me, Robert Garcia." And Lou DiBella was like, "Oh shit, what have I done?" He realized he had been negotiating with Robert Garcia, thinking it was Robert Diaz. We'll see how much of that is true. What is true is that Ryan Garcia has an opponent, and it's a Lou DiBella fighter. We'll see, man, who gets the
Ryan
sweepstake.
Garcia does not deserve that fight.
Let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the Shoe Shine if you haven't, and hit the notification so you make sure we're on next Monday. And of course, drop a comment or hit a like, whatever you want to do. Share with some friends and family. We appreciate you greatly. I appreciate you greatly for being part of the chat tonight. Don't forget to watch all the exciting HCP network family stuff. We got Al Chile tomorrow with our boy Chicano Prophet. He's going to be doing some looking back at some exciting scorecards. So that's tomorrow around 11 a.m. Then you got Wednesdays in the Ring with Christine doing the ladies version of our shows. A great time always. Never know who's going to be on our show. Thursday, the round table. I haven't been on that in a minute. And of course, all the excellent programming on Tuesday. Also, Nancy and D-Styles do their thing. So shout out to everyone over there. Drew, final words?
Yeah. All UK fans aren't bad. Some make sense.
All right.
But a lot of them are fanboys.
Chicano Prophet says, rescoring Pacquiao versus Horn tomorrow. Don't forget to catch that. That's my homeboy there at Al Chile. I'm Dave from the 408, Drew Evo. We'll catch you next week on the Shoe Shine. Peace out, everybody.